So that leads me in to the nice, lovely talk about cross platforms on Crossout. So if y'all don't know what it actually currently is, at least, earlier this year in January, they actually did announce some bit of cross-platform, because prior to that, there really wasn't anything going on here at all. So all the consoles from PlayStation to Xbox were completely segregated, unable to interact with each other. Now with this, they're actually able to battle each other. So basically any sort of PvE mission, PvP mission, brawls, missions, clan wars, they can fight each other. However, they basically do maintain separate leaderboards, separate markets, but they oddly do share like the ability to make blueprints and be able to share that on the exhibition. So the exhibition, which is this thing here, we can find lots of blueprints of other players. You can find this across all consoles. Now, I will note, these things are basically guaranteed to not be shared with PC at all. There is no cross-platform at all with PC. And on top of that, the market itself is completely separate as well. So the PlayStation markets, the Xbox markets, they do not cross at all. So which does kind of cause a slight issue here, because prices on consoles are astronomical. Like if you think prices on PC were insane, where you can get like a synthesis for 100-ish coins, on console it can more than easily be double, triple, 10x that price. And especially for way higher rarity parts here. So when you start talking about relics, they can easily start exceeding like 50, 60,000 coins, no problemo. And the thing is, prices on consoles are not cheaper. So the effective like dollar value, quote unquote, in any sort of part there, if you can really call it that, is just way higher on console, making things just prohibitively expensive, at least comparatively to PC. Now, opposite side of that, that also means that your earning potential is way higher as well. But I don't know whether or not it's actually balanced out, whether or not the balancing of the earning potential and the ability to actually progress is neck and neck, or if it's still kind of skewed here. But it also just makes it things like packs and seasons way less valuable, at least in terms of just their coin rewards. For the actual parts, oh, they're fabulous for that. But then you have to think about that. Like, why is the prices on consoles just so much higher? And I guess it really just relates back to basic economics again here. So we got the supply side here. That is the lovely crafters. These are the people that go out there and make all the lovely stuff here up. And we also have the buyers as well. So that's just people buying and trading on the market, buying things, demanding things, figuring out what they willing to pay for them. So really, we just have a simple graph here showing the quantity, so like the supply of things on the market, how many of things are there, how many parts are there available, how much scrap is there, things of that nature, and then the price. And then this is just basic pure coinage value here, which you all know what that is. So this is basically saying that at a very low price, the amount of suppliers actually willing to craft anything here is basically zero, because it's way too expensive to craft and no one is willing to actually pay a good price for it, so there's no profit to be made. On the inverse side, though, once profit really starts to make really a lot of sense, when the crafting margins are huge, then okay, there's going to be a lot of people trying to make that, assuming that you can make that. There's kind of a weird quirk where on Crossout, a lot of the items can't be crafted, so their quote-unquote crafting value is just super high. So to give you an example of that, something like the Avalanche here that has over 1,000 coin crafting margin, which means if you buy all the crafting reagents and craft the Avalanche, you make 1,000 coins of profit if you can sell it. Downside, the Avalanche, you really can't craft that in a whole lot. If you have a work piece, you might be able to. Otherwise, the season has passed, so you can no longer really craft the Avalanche in unlimited amounts, despite the fact that it also still costs you a lot of money and a lot of time to make this, at least without boosting it. On the inverse side, there's also things like the Punisher that have a negative 45,000 coin crafting margin here because they're not terribly good right now and they're very expensive. So the actual cost of crafting this is astronomical. It also doesn't help that the individual parts, things like uranium, have just skyrocketed in price over the last 2 weeks. So it's just kind of some examples here to kind of give you a prelude as to how to understand this graph. But essentially, what this looks like on the console side of things is that supply-wise, there's very little supply because there's not that many players on there, especially with all the markets being segmented here. So that essentially just pushes this all the way up here, and you get a brand new graph that intersects right here. And this point is essentially supposed to be where the market equilibrium is supposed to be. And that's just where the amount of supply meets the amount of demand. In other words, there's a lot of crafters and there's a lot of buyers, and they're able to get that price there right nice and hunky-dory. Now, if you watch the previous video talking about price corridors, you can figure out why there's kind of a little bit of a stinginess and not able to really truly hit equilibrium due to price corridors and the 10-minute crafting timers for a lot of things. That kind of prevents equilibrium from being established, which can be good or bad depending on your opinion. That allows for more opportunities to make money, but then there's also just like a lot of uncertainty in the market for no reason, and also just makes things expensive in general. So in this, you can see that now the price has effectively gone from, you know, down here where it would be in a more supply, you know, flush market, and has effectively pushed up the price to being higher in coinage. And secondarily, there's also just kind of a quirky thing where buyers are willing to pay way more in coinage because, at least rumor-wise, on the console side of things, it's just way easier for people to purchase way more packs on the console side of things. Like, I always hear rumors that, you know, sales are going on the console side of things way more frequently. I have no idea if that's true, but I wouldn't put it past Targem. But also, you have to realize that the console market tends to be very young. Like, you're talking about people that are usually teenagers that just have access to mom and dad's credit card because it's loaded onto the consoles forever. So they can just sit here and crank that lever whenever the packs come on sale, and they can just get a bunch of buku bucks here. And so what this looks like is that the price buyers are willing to pay goes up way higher. So then at this point, the price is also effectively raised regardless of what quantity it is. So when you have both of these hitting simultaneously, supply shortages and huge people willing to pay way more, is that you have just a way higher price. So instead of it just being like right here where it intersects, from being right here, now it's just way up here, driving the cost up way more. That's at least in very simplistic economic terms of what's happening. Now, there probably is a whole lot of other minutia and variables in there that I'm not properly accounting for, but this is just broadly explaining like 90% of the reason why console prices are way higher. And it's also one of the reasons why markets really can't be merged effectively. Boundless of technical issues, the prices on PC are way lower, just due to just way better economics and way less willing to pay for things like packs or premium time. And so if you start having all the markets get merged together, all of a sudden console players have just way more wealth than the PC players. So all the effective purchases that people have done through historical pack purchases and whatnot go way down for PC players. So if players have a lot of just straight up coins in their inventory, they effectively lose a whole lot of value. But at the same time, if they have a whole lot of items in their inventory, like they have less coins and more items, they can effectively gain a lot more value as well. So that causes like a weird wonkiness in terms of overall supply. And then just on top of that, when you have all the money coming in from the console side of thing here, that would just drive inflation through the roof on PC as well, until the markets, you know, hopefully stabilize around some other equilibrium. I just don't know what that would be, but in general, you would just see way higher prices on the PC side of things. So if you're someone who's already spent a lot of money crafting things or has a lot of coinage, then you effectively just lose all of that. So I really don't think that's necessarily going to be the case in which they're going to try to merge PC and console. They would have to come up with some way to deal with the fact of like the coins not quite lining up there and the actual value of coins being so much less on console and so much more on PC. They're going to have to figure out some way to do that. The only way they could try to do it is they could try to match the inflation rate, where they try to balance the whole thing out. And I don't know if that would quite necessarily work. So that'd be, you know, say if the price of coins is somewhere on this axis for console and this axis for PC, they would somehow have to either devalue the price on the console side of things or dramatically increase the price on PC. And I don't know if either one would really be happy, because if you do that for console players are going to be massively pissed. And if you do that for the PC side of thing, they're going to be also very pissed. And it's, I think, you know, really they don't want to encourage any sort of more mayhem on that side of things. But at the same time, too, there also could be massive benefits associated with that. Because then, if crafting becomes way easier, I think everyone really benefits from that. Because then, the actual ability to get things crafting effectively super helps out. And then on top of that, the issue around price corridors would probably level out way more, since you're not really dealing with the issues of people being able to wait or manipulate the market as much. And there's also going to be a secondary benefit where the actual 10-minute queue or the actual like price corridors where you had to wait and it's like 13 cents higher for no reason, that would effectively go away and go back to just incrementing prices up by 0.01. So given that these Steam charts are not necessarily the best for Crossout right now, I feel like merging all of the player bases to be able at least to play with each other, I feel like would help out a lot in terms of just being able to deal with combat. Now, the downside is that generally PC tends to be quite much more proficient in terms of combat. Like, we have just mouse and keyboard, so our ability to aim with weapons is just so much higher than we have to do it with a joystick. Not saying that console players couldn't compete with the PC side of things. It's just that, in general, you have to have a lot more skill on the console side of things to match someone of average skill, say, on the PC side of things. And for things like competitive clan war, that could be a really huge downer because the effective leaderboard positions on clan wars is kind of rough. And if you're losing a lot more frequently playing against PC players that are probably way more common, if you were to allow these combat markets to at least merge, then congratulations. Your potential for earning uranium could actually go down significantly if you're just all of a sudden getting seal clubbed way more and get pushed down into lower ranks, where you're either not earning as much uranium or you're not getting your leaderboards progression as much. But I feel like that would be easier to manage because that is effectively, you just need to have a better system for dealing with, allocating score, where it's based off like relative performance versus console versus PC and kind of going based off that, as well as just a win and loss as well. Or they could just simply adjust the leaderboard brackets on the console side of things so that if their points effectively go lower on average, then the brackets themselves also go lower so that the potential for earning uranium is still just about the same. So I guess another concern is that there are certain weapons on console that are very effective just because of the way how consoles work than they are on PC. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but drones themselves, they actually have a way different set of balancing on the console side of things, because on PC it's very easy to deal with drones because you can just point your mouse at it and you have really good accuracy and it's really easy to deal with them. But on console we have joysticks and the turning is not necessarily as pinpoint and accurate. Drones themselves can become way more effective. That used to be a huge issue where on the longest time you'd have a lot of people complaining on the Crossout forums, on the console side of things, and saying that drones are way too powerful, please nerf them. And so they had to eventually start implementing these unilateral balance changes where the balances on the console and PC are slightly ever so different. And so if they allow those to actually equalize out, either drones have to become exceptionally crappy versus PC players, or drones have to become exceptionally good against console players again, which I'm not sure if they ever want to go back to the days of just, drone spam. Because they used to have that issue on PC as well, where drones used to be really, really, really good. Like the kamikaze drones, oh my god, those things used to be absolutely destructively good. Same with the Grenadier drones. Those things used to be able to run across the map and gun people down, similar to like a Tau missile, except now it's independent and able to go a little bit more wacky. But now I'm thinking about it, and I wonder if it would just be possible for them to make it so it's like, hey, I am a console player, make me just take less damage from drones overall when facing against other PC players. And I wonder if they'd be able to effectively balance it out that way, where it literally just categorically changes based off what your type of input is. But also know that a lot of console players can use keyboard and mouse on console. You have to have like a special adapter to do it, I believe, but it is potentially possible. So I wonder if that would also lead to some weird balancing issues where a console player using keyboard and mouse would become way more effective than PC players. I imagine that wouldn't be the case all the time, but it is some potential there. And so yeah, I think because there's all these questions that could come about when trying to implement the cross-platform between PC and console, that's probably why you're not really going to be seeing it for a very long time, and why you only really had this kind of like limited-ish type of rollout. And on top of that, realistically, this would only solve the issue around queue times. And on PC, they're still relatively alright. Sure, the player numbers don't look the best, but it's still relatively easy to get into a match within less than 5 minutes, which I think at that point, that's when people start getting pissed. If it's less than that, they're fine. They're not going to be too worried about it. But that's just my thoughts about it. What do you guys think about this? Let me know down below, and I want to thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.